All right, we're going to get started. Welcome back to the October 18th, 2024 meeting of the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. A link to view this meeting was provided on the Commission's website for the public to view this meeting. I would like Hayden to take a roll call of the commissioners to reconvene after our recess.
Commissioner Carter.
Present.
Commissioner Griscom. Commissioner Levine. Commissioner Patterson.
Here.
Commissioner Eddie Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Lauren Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Tudor.
Here.
Commissioner Woodson.
Here.
Chair Richards.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have 7 members present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Commissioners Griscom and Levine notified me prior to the meeting of their absence today, and they are excused per commission policy. In accordance with the Commission Policy 1.200, we have reserved time for up to 30 minutes of public comment. Hayden, can you please let us know how many written comments were submitted and introduce, excuse me, any individuals who have registered for public comment?
We had 2 written comments submitted, and we also had 2 people sign up to speak today. First, we have Bunyamin Murat. Come forward and speak.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Benjamin Murat. I'm being a part of our Nashville School of Excellence appeals over here. And Nashville School of Excellence is my honor to address for you for today, behalf of our newly proposed charter school, Nashville School of Excellence. And this institution represent a crucial opportunity for our communities, and one of the 6 for elevate academic achievements and provide the students with the tools they needed. And especially for the STEM designated schools, we are committed for the fostering innovation, critical thinking, and excellence. For Nashville School of Excellence has a demonstrated history for a success for 100% graduation rate, 100%. And underscoring for unwavering commitment for prepare students for success for both in classroom and beyond the classrooms also. The demand for the new education option is clear, and over 600 families, like 600 families, have responded for our press surveys and expressing a strong desire for additional high-quality facility in Nashville, Tennessee. Moreover, we have already established for strategic partnership with the 7 local organizations in Nashville and 30 partnerships throughout the surrounding areas. And these collaborations straight for our ability to serve education needs of the community and ensure that our students have success and valuable resource and support. And we are acutely aware for some of the existing schools, local schools, high school districts here, less than for 53% graduation rate. And back to 2 years, not more than 60% over 2 years, unfortunately. And this is clearly means families in this area deserve for better, and we are prepared for these successful education models to serving for them and provide a meaningful choice for another brighter futures. And today also, we are financially respectful and prepared for that one, Nashville School of Excellence, and reserving for around $8 million for that one too, and ready for serve for the Nashville. And today we are respectfully seek for approval for this proceed, and that we are provide these students and their family with a highly quality educations to deserve. And thank you for your time, and I'm pretty sure your thoughtful consideration will be our proposals. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we had Erhan Ozdoran. Is he present? Oh.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Today, we will hear 2 remaining New Start appeals, one from Encompass Community School and one from the Nashville School of Excellence. Each party in an appeal has been afforded the opportunity to provide a written statement or provide an oral public comment in response to the executive director's recommendation. This information will be heard by the commissioners in advance of the discussion of the executive director's recommendation. Following that appeal, we will discuss our strategic vision and mission plan and then adjourn for the day. Are there any questions before we begin? Okay, then we will go ahead and start. Our first appeal on our agenda is for Encompass Community School. In accordance with Commission Policy 2000, a representative of each appeal has the opportunity to submit a written statement or be recognized for up to 2 minutes in advance. Hayden, can you please read any statements received or introduce any representatives who are here today?
Yes, first on behalf of Encompass Community School, we have Meg Gary.
Good morning. My name is Megan Gary, and I am the founder and proposed school leader of Encompass Community School. First, I want to express our deep gratitude to the review committee, commission staff, commissioners, and for our local district for their time and consideration throughout this appropriately rigorous process. We are deeply grateful for the recommendation for approval from Executive Director Stovall and respectfully ask you all to vote to open Encompass today. Encompass would be the first of its kind in Nashville and is proposed to open in a corner of the city where the percentage of students who achieve grade level proficiency is in the low single digits and in some cases is less than 5%. The families of North Nashville deserve options. They deserve choices proven to result in life-changing achievement, putting students on track for long-term success. Our academic model has decades of research and proven results, backing its efficacy in accelerating student achievement, with students growing between 2.5 to 4 grade levels each school year. We have heard from our local district about enrollment trends within our proposed community, and we disagree with the narrative that is being presented, as it ignores family experiences, demand, and the fact that 50 to 67% of families are opting out of their zone school in search of better options for their kids. There are students there, and the families want Encompass. Our most updated interest to enroll data of 716 students highlight this very fact. These 716 families, many of which wanted to be here today but had to get their kids on the bus this morning, have been clear about their desire and excitement for a model that is community-centered and takes a personalized approach to learning. Equally important, our team is equipped and ready to provide them with that option. The shared experiences, technical skills, and resources of Encompass's governing body are uniquely positioned to execute this model. Our team deeply and humbly understands the significance and complexity of this work. Our plan is strong but imperfect, and we can't possibly predict with 100% accuracy all of the challenges we'll face on this road, but we have the people and systems ready to do it, and we're ready to get started. Thanks so much. Thank you for your consideration.
Next, on behalf of Metro Nashville Public Schools, we have Rodney Rowan.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Tennessee Public Charter Commission. I'm Rodney Rowan, Executive Officer for Metro Nashville Public Schools. MENPS respectfully disagrees with the Executive Director's recommendation to overturn the board's decision to deny the amended application for Encompass Community School. So I want to acknowledge 3 things. First, Encompass has definitely secured startup funding. They've assembled a very strong governing body, and they have engaged parents. They've solicited buy-in from stakeholders. But I encourage you to consider one word. This word is time. Time to fully implement, time to pressure test, and time to make adjustments. Because the linchpin in Encompass's Community Schools application is the Morningside model of generative instruction. And according to Encompass's application, Morningside promises to garner 2.5 to 4 years of growth in one single school year. However, there's extensive research that suggests academic gaps are based on many factors, and many of these factors are far beyond what happens in a school or at home. We're talking about gaps that start at kindergarten and they continue as children progress in their education trajectory. Now, if Encompass Community Schools' recommendation is to implement this Morningside model, the wise thing to do would be start with kindergarten and first grade, and then add a grade each school year. Encompass's recommendation is to begin with a K-3 model. Therefore, students are on the clock day one. They will take the TCAP test year one. The Morningside model is a very ambitious model, and it has many moving parts. Encompass's academic plan simply requires more time to roll out. I ask that you err on the side of caution, because time could be the factor that determines this school's success and demise. And a new charter school being approved in a feeder pattern that is already faced with multiple challenges should not take place when we're talking about time. And for the record, Commissioner Smith, I've done my research. The Tennessee Charter Commission has never approved a priority school in the history of this organization. And time should not be the variable, and it's not time to set a precedence. Thank you.
All right, we'll now move on to the presentation from Tess Stovall, our Executive Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. As stated, the first appeal we have before us today is for Encompass Community School. This school is proposing to locate in the Whites Creek Pearl Cone clusters of Metro Nashville Public Schools. The application was denied by Metro Nashville Public Schools in July of 2024. And based on the Commission's process, I determined that the application meets or exceeds the expectations set forth for approval in the state scoring rubric. And I do believe that the denial of the application was contrary to the best interests of the students, the LEA, or their community. So I want to touch on first the academic plan and why I believe it meets the standards for approval. First, the sponsor named a clear mission and vision for the academic model, and it is unique both to Nashville as well as the proposed clusters it would serve. The academic model is a research-based and thoroughly supported by evidence. It is implemented in hundreds of schools across the nation, and we were incredibly impressed within the application as well as within the capacity interview of the applicant group to articulate their academic model and how it would work and function within the school setting. Additionally, the sponsor had really strong evidence of the ability to serve both English learners and students with disabilities. This was something we were really concerned about within the model and to ensure that the required services could be met. And again, throughout the application as well as the capacity interview was really demonstrated a deep understanding of how those services would be provided within the academic model. One of the primary arguments that MNPS made in the public hearing was the applicant proposing to locate in an area where the district has experienced declining enrollment and has consolidated schools. And so similarly, we were probing throughout the process about whether or not the applicant had sufficient enrollment demand in these areas to meet their projected enrollment. Additionally, the district said that there was evidence that none of the charter schools in the Whites Creek and Pearl Cone area were at capacity, and therefore there was not a need for additional charter schools in that area. So after the public hearing, I followed up with the district to get additional information about charter school capacity in the area. And so what we heard back was that there are 2 charter schools in the Pearl Cone cluster, one of which does currently have a wait list. And then for the charter schools that are in the Whites Creek cluster, the district stated that because the charter school runs its own lottery, or those 2 schools run their own lottery, they don't actually have insights about whether or not there's a wait list. And so based on this information, I determined that there is likely capacity available for an additional charter school in that area. And then also based on the significant community support and the due diligence this applicant has done in this area, feel like there is demand in the area for this unique academic model. As stated throughout the process, all of the zone schools within the Pearl Cone cluster are on the Comprehensive Support and Improvement Schools designation by the Department of Education. Again, underscoring a need for a high quality option in that area. The Encompass team has spent a significant amount of time engaging with families in their proposed areas, and specifically to talk about their academic model and whether families would be interested in the academic model. They have indicated a year one target enrollment of 105 students, kindergarten through third grade. And as testified, at least through our process, that they have identified 274 families who would be eligible to attend in year one. Again, to me, this bolsters the argument that while the district schools may be seeing overall declines in enrollment, that there still is community demand in those two areas for a high quality option. And particularly when we look at the relatively low target of year one enrollment of 105 students across 4 grades, this gives me much more confidence about their ability to meet their enrollment targets. I also want to commend the identification of a strong leader and a very strong governing board. The proposed school leader has deep experience both within Nashville and within special education, and I believe she's uniquely qualified to head the Encompass school. I also want to note that the capacity interview demonstrated the amazing governing board that they have put together. And I would highly recommend, if you didn't watch it, you should watch it, because it is, I think, one of the best capacity interviews I've ever participated in, because the governing board members participated significantly. They understood the model. They understood what their responsibilities were as a governing board and their fiduciary responsibilities. And so to me, the combination of a strong leader and a strong governing board lends itself to be able to work through the challenges moving forward. Additionally, the applicant has identified a facility. They've worked with an architect to determine the necessary renovations. We talked extensively in the capacity interview about the facility options, what they have looked at, where they are when it comes to being ready to open in August 2025. I also found that their financial plan meets the standard for approval. So in the capacity interview and the public hearing, they shared that they've already exceeded their fundraising goal of $300,000 before authorization. Additionally, the district noted concerns about the plan to outsource some third-party financial responsibilities. Not only is this a common practice within public charter schools, it was not a concern after discussing with the governing board, because there's clear understanding of what the governing board's responsibility is regarding financials versus what the third party would be doing in terms of services. We also found that the budget was conservative and also had realistic expenses listed. We know that any budget is going to change, and the fact that we know that it's already conservative estimates and that they have financial contingencies, again, made us feel confident in the applicant's proposed plan. I believe that Encompass will offer an academic model that is not currently available in Nashville. It is a unique model, and it is an exciting option for students in an area where there are currently limited options for quality schools. And for all of these reasons and those included in my recommendation, I recommend that the commission approve the Encompass amended application, and I will be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Tess? Okay, if not, we'll start our discussion. Commissioner Carter?
Thanks, Madam Chair. One of the things that's really critical at the end of the day, particularly when you're sitting in this chair, is you know, we look at, again, leadership, and we've had this conversation yesterday. You look at whether or not, from a feasibility standpoint, that there is really adequate capital to look at moving this along. We look at this issue of systems and process, and this Morningside, I think that's what it's called, Morningside, again, model, which is a proven successful track record. I think that that really brings a differentiator, I think, to the marketplace that's going to be viable. Equally important is, at the end of the day, is the need. You know, truly not happy to hear about the fact that when we look at national public schools, particularly the two schools that are in that area, are not meeting TCAP standards. And we're talking about, again, at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's about the community. When you have, in fact, again, a real demand from the community for this school, you got to take note. And that's what we're doing. So I, for one, support our executive director's recommendation. This is a school that we need to look at approving for operation to be in this area, to make a difference in the scholars in that area. To do anything differently at this juncture in terms of saving lives, impacting lives, to use my dear friend to my right, my fraternity brother who I love dearly, this would be negligent. This would be negligent on our part. We're not about the business of being negligent in terms of impacting and saving lives, and particularly in terms of, again, communities where there's just such a need. So we need to look at, again, being real definitive about the fact that this is a school that we support, we'll get behind. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Lauren Smith.
Not a ton to add to what my colleague said and what Tess said. I'm just so excited about this model, and this application I thought was so thorough, and I mean, they did their homework in every way possible. The capacity interview was incredible. The team, the board, the leadership team, the community support, it just checked every box for me. I think it's an ambitious plan around enrollment and around academic growth, but I think it's exciting to see such an ambitious plan in an area that really needs it in Nashville. So I'm very happy to put my support behind this application.
Commissioner Eddie Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, you know, this is one of those that when we talk about high-performing charter schools, you know, the fact that they could be looking at a 2+ year growth to help get kids back on track. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're asking all of our schools to do, is to help move these children into success, because that success in those early grades will determine everything else. And I hear the argument from MNPS about time, but I believe it's time for the children in that community to have an option to move them forward. So with that, Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the Executive Director's recommendation to overturn MPS for Encompass School.
Are there any other comments? If not, is there a second for that motion? Okay, thank you. I will call for a vote on the Encompass Community School appeal. This is a motion to adopt the resolution to overturn the denial of Encompass Community Schools amended application. Hayden, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Carter. Aye. Commissioner Patterson.
Aye.
Commissioner Eddie Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Lauren Smith. Commissioner Tudor.
Aye.
Commissioner Woodson. Chair Richards.
Aye.
Madam Chair, you have 7 ayes.
Thank you.
Megan, you okay? You want some tissue? Megan, you want some tissue?
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate you taking the time. I know it's an effort on your part to be here, but it means a lot to see a show of support. Thank you. Okay, with that, we're going to let you all, and then we'll take our next item up. Okay. The final New Start appeal we will hear is from Nashville School of Excellence. Hayden, can you please read any statements received and introduce any representatives here today? And we will note the public comment that was already made is on behalf of Nashville Collegiate Schools, but you still have your comment as allowed in the process.
Nashville School of Excellence submitted a written statement after the deadline to submit, but it has been included in your packets in the written public comments. And then on behalf of Metro Nashville Public Schools, we have Rodney Rowan.
Comment be very brief. Rodney Rowan, Executive Officer, Metro Nashville Public Schools. MNPS agrees with the Executive Director's recommendation to uphold the board's decision to deny the amended application for Nashville School of Excellence. Recognize three things. They did establish a healthy financial plan, demonstrated successful student growth criteria, and generated some academic success with the school in Memphis. But the evidence and the data suggested that the charter organization's plan was not clear and concise for what's needed in Metro Nashville. Also, identifying the Nolensville corridor that is inundated with charter schools and public schools simply did not make Nashville School of Excellence a good fit for Nashville. So with that said, we appreciate the recommendation. We support the recommendation to deny Nashville School of Excellence application. Thank you.
Thank you for all of your comments on all of these appeals. You have always spoken both of the positives and the negatives of the applicant, and I appreciate that civility in this time of such difficult conversation. So thank you for coming and taking such a reasoned approach.
I can take the point to say 28 years of service in public education. As a principal in urban inner city Memphis priority schools, this work it's not work, it's hard work.
Yeah.
So I empathize with the families, I understand the need, and this is my job, and I'm here to do my job.
Well, we appreciate your approach. Thank you. And now we'll hear from Tess Stovall, our Executive Director, on this application and appeal.
Thank you, Chair Richards. The last appeal for discussion today is Nashville School of Excellence, which is proposing to locate along the Nolensville Road corridor in Metro Nashville. Nashville School of Excellence was denied by the MNPS Board of Education in July of 2024. So based on the commission's process, I determined that the application does not currently meet the standards for approval, and therefore I agree with the district's decision to deny the application. I do believe that the sponsor has a successful network of schools in Memphis-Shelby County. However, in totality, the application and through our process, I determined that there was a lack of evidence-based justification and plan for an expansion into Nashville. I commend the sponsor for the work that they've done in the STEM-focused programming provided in Memphis, in its Memphis schools. They demonstrate a very high graduation rate. And in many cases, they outperform the other schools in the area. I think Commissioner Patterson talked about that even yesterday. However, my main concerns are around the planned expansion into Nashville. And I do not believe at this time those expansion plans are robust enough to lead to a high likelihood of success in the Nashville schools. So first, I want to talk about the targeted location along Nolensville Road. And those of us who are located in the Nashville area know that that is a very long corridor. And when we were reviewing the application, it was not clear where exactly the proposed school plan to locate. And depending on where you are in the Nolensville Road corridor, there are a variety of different communities, different populations. And so this lack of evidence was the starting point for what we felt was a lack of a clear plan of where they plan to be and who they plan to serve. I do note that there are a large number of currently existing charter high schools and middle schools in that area. And while that in and of itself shouldn't be a reason to deny an application, even more so, we are looking for a very clear enrollment plan and clear demand for a new school. The sponsor throughout the public hearing and within the capacity review and applicant stated that they would rely heavily on the brand recognition of Memphis School of Excellence. However, that cited brand is not recognized within the Nashville community. And we did not find evidence within the application that they had done robust community engagement to determine that the school was desired and that there was enough students to enroll in the school. At the public hearing, it was mentioned that there were approximately 620 students interested. However, we had no evidence of this form or the questions asked within this form, and within the application, there was extremely limited community support documentation from Nashville, and many of the community support documentation were from Memphis. At the hearing, the sponsor stated that the South Nashville community has a large Kurdish community, which is true, and that many of the families had expressed interest in enrolling. Again, this statement was not corroborated with any evidence within the application or any other supporting documentation that we received. And additionally, the speaking in favor of the school at the public hearing was limited. We had limited public comment in support of this school. And those who spoke at the public hearing often indicated a financial interest in the school being approved. The sponsor cited lengthy wait lists at other charter schools as a reason for another charter school being needed in the area. However, we had no data to support this statement. Overall, we just did not find that the applicant provided sufficient community support and demand, particularly to open in a year one with over 300 students, which is an aggressive year one, knowing what we know. My other concerns surround the Memphis-based network's plan to expand into Nashville, particularly in the pre-opening and beginning preliminary years of the school's operation. The pre-opening work and opening a successful charter school require significant time and investment within the community. And I am concerned that the applicant does not have a robust enough plan to be physically present in Nashville to do that successfully. While I appreciated the sponsor's plans to travel frequently to Nashville, they also had significant plans to rely on asynchronous methods of professional development, virtual time between the two sites. And this again led me to have questions about whether or not there was sufficient presence in Nashville to open this school successfully. I do agree that the financial plan meets the standard. There was clear reserves within the Reed Foundation to support the opening of a new school and to plan for any contingencies along the way. And additionally, I found that the sponsor's past performance meets the standard for approval. As I stated earlier, Memphis School of Excellence has had consistently high TVOS rates. They have multiple schools that have been named a reward school. And I believe that they have an importance in understanding how to implement an academic program to close achievement gaps. And this is a clear strength within the application. And while I commend the sponsor's vision for expanding STEM programming into Nashville, I do not believe that at this time this application is ready for approval. And if there is a desire to expand into Nashville in the future, I would hope that the applicant understands that this commission, and for my recommendation, we need to see a very clear demonstration of community support and demand within Nashville, a very clear identification of the community where they plan to locate, and a detailed plan for network expansion, particularly within the Nashville area. And it is based on the totality of the evidence I've discussed today and in my recommendation that it is my recommendation that the commission not approve the amended application for Nashville School of Excellence. And I will take any questions at this time.
Commissioner Carter?
Thanks, Madam Chair. We talked yesterday about the fact that when you come before us to the sponsors, this is the Supreme Court. This is major leagues. This is not circuit, a regional court. So you got to be ready for prime time, and you're not. So when we talk about, I don't want to be redundant and waste time in terms of repeating a lot of the things that our executive director has said in terms of why you're not ready. But it is important that at the end of the day, that community-based support, demonstrated, documented, is going to be critical. It's not like you don't have a success in terms of, again, what you've done in Memphis, in terms of what I've read and what I've heard. But you need to look at coming back with your game together so that, in fact, we can take you seriously, so that your application doesn't have holes. But you've got to have that basic support from the community. And it's got to be demonstrated, and it's got to be documented. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Lauren Smith?
Yeah, I think my major concern here is just the location. As someone who worked at a charter school on Nolensville Pike, I know it's a massive area with a lot of schools, and I think facilities are very challenging to find in that area as well. So that, plus the lack of demonstrated community support, make me hesitant to approve it at this time, but would encourage the sponsor to do some more work and consider coming back in the future. Thank you.
Terrence, Commissioner Patterson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to highlight for my fellow commissioners that I'm extraordinarily supportive of the work that they've done in Memphis. And I hope that that hasn't fallen on deaf ears. And I know Executive Director has made note of that. It's certainly been documented in the recommendation as well. And I do agree with my fellow commissioners that perhaps now isn't the right time, but they have consistently shown growth gains. Their high school performance and graduation rates for students in Memphis in very difficult to serve parts of Memphis has been very strong. And I have personally visited their campuses and feel really good about the Memphis leadership. And so I do take to heart and can appreciate as a Memphian the distinctions between serving in Memphis and serving in Nashville. And so I do hope that the sponsor will continue to stay at it, because I wouldn't, as much as I love Memphis, I wouldn't want us to just keep this great gem in Memphis. We should share it with the rest of the state. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that and acknowledge the work of the Memphis School of Excellence team. But certainly I will be agreeing with the recommendation and my fellow commissioners.
Any other comments? I just want to join Commissioner Patterson. This school is doing a wonderful job in Memphis, and under difficult circumstances in a tough neighborhood, and their graduation rate is without a doubt outstanding. I would love to see this in Nashville, but I have to join our executive director with your comments. It's hard to stand up a high school all at once, and without demonstrated community support, I have grave concerns if they could meet even the minimal enrollment that they would need to succeed. I am concerned about stretching their support staff into another city. I think they need to have a bigger Nashville presence. I would encourage them to really work on an application if they choose to come back and present something. I would think that if well done, it's something that MNPS could approve, and we wouldn't even have to have another conversation about it. But that being said, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion to uphold the decision of the MNPS and deny the appeal of Nashville School of Excellence. Hayden, will you please call the roll? Whoops, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Carter. Commissioner Patterson. Commissioner Eddie Smith. Commissioner Lauren Smith. Commissioner Tudor. Commissioner Woodson. Chair Richards.
Aye.
Madam Chair, you have 7 ayes.
Okay, that concludes all of the appeals that we had on our agenda for today. And our next item is an update on the Commission's strategic plan. I want to recognize Manager of Strategic Initiatives, Drejeen Cummings, to provide an update on that plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Richards. Drejeen Cummings, Manager of Strategic Initiatives. So after our July meeting, where we had a really good discussion about the vision statement, we were tasked with going back to get feedback from all of our stakeholders. We got feedback from internal stakeholders, so I had really good conversations with staff about that draft vision statement. We also got feedback from school operators, other education groups, legislators, Tennessee state agencies, and also Commissioner Carter on that drafted vision statement. We have a copy of that feedback summary included in your binders if you want to take a look. But overall, it was very positive. People were very happy with it. There were some concerns about some of the word choice, which we've worked out. But overall, that was some really good feedback that we received. Following that, I had a work session with Commissioner Griscom to kind of work down the vision statement from July to take it to what we have today. In that conversation, since he's not here today, I'll share kind of some key themes that we discussed. One was making sure that the vision statement accurately reflects the work that we're currently doing. We're an authorizer already, we're an LEA, and so making sure that's kind of a given in the statement was something that he really focused on. The other thing was making sure that it challenges us. We want to push ourselves to be forward-seeking, looking into the future, and so there's parts of it that's a little bit aspirational. And then finally, if you know Commissioner Griscom, he wanted to make sure that it was concise. So we had lots of discussion about like which word should we take this out, should we put it there? So we really worked hard to get it down to what we provided for you today. After having that conversation with him, I then provided two options to Chair Richards for you all. So on the screen here are the two vision statement options, and just a little bit more about the difference between the two. They are the same except for the bolded change, which is one, public school choices, and then public charter school choices between the two. We did receive feedback that we are the Charter Commission. We should include that in the vision statement. And we also received feedback that it's a given, right? It's in our name, so we don't have to put it there. So that's the biggest difference between the two, and I wanted to provide that to you all for a discussion because I think it'd be helpful to have y'all's input on what we want to do here. So I will pause as you all kind of digest and see if we have any discussion. And Director Stovall, if you have anything else to add here.
No, first of all, I want to thank Jerry Jean and also Hayden for their work in collecting feedback. I think we got a lot of great feedback on the vision statement. I'm excited that we got to receive Commissioner Griscom's feedback before he's off to Portugal, and feel strongly that our editor-in-chief has his touch on this. But I think the big discussion point for you all is whether or not we value having charter schools in the name or not, because we are the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. And so we are asking for this discussion and for you all to vote and affirm one of these options so that we can establish this and then start the work moving forward.
Commissioner Woodson?
A question. Could you talk a little bit about the backstory on the two options? Can you just unpack a little bit what our stakeholders shared, what members of the commission have shared? You don't have to attribute it to any specific person, but can you talk us through these two in terms of the discussion?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Whitson. So I'll kind of back up a little bit to kind of give you the evolution of where we started. We had a lot of conversation about what words we would take out, and so we removed excellence because, one, it's one of our core values, but also it's something that we wanted to be sure that we reflected in kind of a way that we could define, and so we moved it around a little bit. We also took out thrive, and so that was something that we discussed a little bit. We had lots of feedback on that. Commissioner Griscom and I really, for the first part of the sentence, wanted to be sure that by authorizing and supporting that's already a given. So that was one of the biggest changes that I think we had with sentence structure. And then we talked a lot about the last piece, which is prepare for a successful life experience. So we took a lot of time to make sure that the thriving was still kind of reflected, but in a more specific way.
Super helpful. I'll be a little more narrow in my question. There's one difference in these two options. can you describe the relative passion between the two in our stakeholder groups? And unpack that specific part? If you feel comfortable, or anybody, and if I'm happy to just have my own opinion and run with it, but I'm interested in the underbelly of this.
So I would say Commissioner Griscom is in favor of the public educational options because he understands that educational options are a part of the educational landscape and that we are a part of those options. There were other stakeholders outside of Commissioner Griscom who felt like it was, I would say, weird that the commission's vision statement didn't name public charter schools. And so I think it's a question of, do we feel strongly that we need to say that we do public charter schools in our vision statement? Or do we need to say that's a given because we're the Public Charter School Commission and that we are a part of offering public educational options, of which there are many of them in the greater space in Tennessee?
That is very helpful, and thank you, Drejon, for all of your hard work on this, period. I think for me, and I can see both sides of this, I think that it's really a difference between a literal translation versus sort of a vision. And so I personally prefer the first option of the two. It feels consistent with the statutory mandates that we have from our legislative partners. It feels consistent with how we operate organizationally, and given, one, our name, and that it is very clear that we're in the charter school conversation. I'd say business, but we're not in the business, but we are in the authorizing and supporting, leading business. And so to me, it's more of a vision and a part of a constellation of opportunities for children and family. And so for me, I lean one and appreciate that they're both very solid options.
Commissioner Eddie Smith.
Listen, just because Tom's not here for you to call him beautiful today doesn't mean you have to pick on me. I'm waiting. So I agree with Commissioner Woodson. I mean, we are the Tennessee Public Charter School Commission. The reason I like public school choices is, as we've seen, there's a lot of unique options that are starting to come out. The nursing program, we've seen the Tennessee Nature Academy. You know, we're seeing a lot of different ones that I don't want everybody staying pigeonholed into just a charter school is really just like the public school, just with a charter name. It's actually, there's different ways of thinking outside the box in that realm. So it's public school choices rather than just public charter schools. Again, that I'm going to echo what Commissioner Woodson said, and I know Tom has his belief in things. Luckily, he is on a plane and cannot defend himself, so makes it a little bit easier to disagree with him when he's not here.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter?
I love Commissioner Smith. I mean, Eddie is just, there's always substance to what he's saying in all seriousness, and as well as, you know, there's deep thought that he gives to responses to things that he feels strongly about. This is really nuance, you know, and because I'm old, my mind just wanders, you know, but at the end of the day, I want to get on with things. You know, I think particularly from a branding standpoint, from the standpoint of, again, who you are, words are powerful. And I think that when you talk about articulating who you are, the term and the word and the use of charter schools or charter in your kind of vision statement, I think is critical. It really defines who we are. You know, there's an old saying, so you got to, this is my dad. And a lot of the people here this will go over your head. My dad used to tell me as a kid, be who you is, because if you is what you ain't, then you ain't what you are. That's deep. So again, that'll come to you tomorrow maybe when you think about it. But at the end of the day, be who you is, and who you is a charter school. I think you need to say that. You know, and again, I can support, again, the majority at the end of the day. You know, and I think we can go on and on and on and talk about this. But at the end, definitively, you know, take a position. My position is be who you is. We are, and I think we needed to say that we're a charter school entity, authorizer, appeal body. But that needs to be in our vision statement from my standpoint. Madam Chair.
Okay, well, it looks like that's a discussion we have. I have to say that I tend to be a very simple person and under the circumstances tend to agree with Commissioner Carter. There are a lot of initiatives underway in Tennessee to provide various school choices that have nothing to do with charter schools. In Memphis right now, we have a university system that's setting up its own LEA that's adding to the confusion level as to what kind of school that is or those schools are going to be. There's a lot of talk about changes to the charter framework to allow optional or, you know, a different kind of approach to charters, but it seems unclear whether those will actually be charters or not. And of course, there's a lot of discussion in the legislature about various things that the legislature may want to talk about as far as funding public education. Under the circumstances, I'm inclined to include the word charter and use the second option because I think it makes it clear, and I think that this is something, if we want to revisit it in a couple of years as a part of our normal process, which we do, at that point, if some of this other confusion and noise that's going on isn't there, maybe I could join Commissioner Griscom, but I'm inclined to include the second option with charter. Yes, Ms. Executive Director.
I also want to note that the intent of today was to establish a vision statement so we can move forward with the mission statement. However, I think we can still carry forth the work if we want to wait until this for a January conversation where we have both Alan and Tom here. Because we're so close that this is not going to prevent the work moving forward. And so I did want to offer that option if we want to just kind of say, we're very close, we're 98% there, and we're going to continue on our work and get some feedback on a mission statement and then bring it back in January when everybody's here and we can continue the conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. My biggest concern, I know where Commissioner Griscom is. I have no idea where Commissioner Levine is. And there are 9 of us, and this might be something that, you know, we have a relatively close vote on. So I'm inclined, if it will not slow down the work on other things, to go ahead and take under advisement. These are our 2 options. Ask you to continue to explore feedback, and we will take it up in January where hopefully we'll have everybody here, because I have no idea where Commissioner Levine is on this one. So
Just lose the second one between now and then. It just happened to fall out of the email.
okay, so I will take a motion to continue this conversation to the January meeting. Second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, opposed, nay. There are none. Okay, we're postponed till January. Please proceed.
Thank you. So with that, just a couple more items. Since we're going to be taking the vision statement to January, wanted to preview too that we have the mission statement. So as we discussed, moving from vision down to mission, so we'll do a refresh there. I've also included in your binders a 1-pager with our previous mission statement and just some mission statement options. Would love to hear high-level feedback from you all on the mission statement or just engaging in that process in general. What we're planning to do is the same thing, getting your thoughts, then going to get feedback from staff, external stakeholders, and then bringing that to you in January. And like Director Stovall said, I'll be bringing that to you in addition to the vision statement in January. So want to pause here for anything you want me to do, or Tess, if you have any additional feedback you want to provide.
And I'll let everyone find that page in your binder. It's after the strategic plan PowerPoint. I did want to provide some interesting feedback that we got from an operator on our vision statement, which I think was very insightful and will help us when we think about our mission statement. This operator had previously been under the Achievement School District, and so they saw a real ebb and flow around what the Achievement School District's vision of authorizing LEA meant. And it was at times authorizer, compliance, hands off. It was at times we're leaning in and being a school district, and that means we're going to send in instructional coaches and have professional development, et cetera. And while he understood what we meant by the word support, his push was, is that a slippery slope? And right now, our support is very authorizer, compliance, technical assistance. You know, we know this line between autonomy and accountability, but not wanting for us to slip into the world of we are encroaching on providing, you know, a math instructional coach, an English instructional coach, that sort of thing. So I offer that because some of the mission statements that we have proposed, and again, this is high-level feedback. We're going to continue this process for more feedback in the coming months, does use the word support. And I think that may be a word that over the next couple months, we really wrestle with of what do we mean by support? Is that the right word? Because I think we say to our schools, look, your success is our success. We're here for you. But not really wanting to define ourselves that we are not a traditional school district. It is the responsibility of the schools to have their academic plan, execute their academic plan, and we will hold them accountable. So I offer that additional context as we start thinking about the mission statements, and would really flag, as we did Thriving, flag the word support for us to really dig into, is that what we really mean? And is there a better word for that?
Commissioner Eddie Smith.
And on that test, something that jumped off when I started reading these, it's a number 1, and it's just the phrase, to act as a trusted partner. I think that speaks to what they're saying. You know, this is a partnership. We're not overlords. We're supposed to be a trusted partner, but we are also going to hold them accountable to what they said they would do. That's what partners do. So that's the one thing that I did like in number 1, is to act as a trusted partner, and something that we probably ought to really look at keeping in anything that we do, whether it be some of the other stuff I could go here or there. But I really did like that, to act as a trusted partner.
Any other comments, thoughts at this stage?
Madam Chair, I should give you a perspective, and this was a conversation that, in fact, I had this week with our authorizer up in Michigan with my charter school, which is Central Michigan University. Note that, again, I've been in the business for 14 years, you know, as a co-founder of a charter school. And one of the things I said to them was, at the end of the day, and I try to be very transparent, it's tough work that we do. I talked about the fact that we're in our 3rd CMO, our 3rd management company, because the other 2 didn't perform. And we're in the business of making, change in terms of trying to make sure we educate these youngsters from Detroit. At the end of the day, what I said to them was that I appreciate the fact that you're Switzerland. We're Switzerland in a lot of ways in terms of, again, our neutrality. But there are times when we don't know what we don't know, and particularly when it comes to governance. Not so much governance, no. When it comes to kind of administrative issues that are potentially, again, really critical that we are not aware of because we have a new leader or we have a new CMO. And the last thing we want to do is to look at not being compliant and how we respond back to you as our boss, as our charter authorizer. So what I'm trying to get across is this issue of many times, again, Even we've been in business 14 years. We don't know what we don't know in terms of how to respond back to you. Or, again, doing things that, in fact, are not compliant with, again, guidelines that we're supposed to be operating under. So I share that from the standpoint of a food for thought. Be careful in some ways with this. I mean, this goes back to that support test. I'd like to see us, and again, it's a real slippery slope, but we've got people that need our help, who that many times, again, in our neutrality piece, again, we don't maybe are cautious in saying anything. Let's think about that. Let's talk about that. I hope that you can appreciate that. Okay. Thanks, Madam.
Yeah, I join in those thoughts, and I am struggling because one of the things we also are trying to contemplate is what are our interactions with the boards, governing boards of these various charter schools. Because under the current structure, responsibility for insurance of compliance is actually with the governing board of the school. And yet our interactions with those boards have been, quite frankly, more limited. So one of the things we're doing is starting an annual process of meeting with at least the board chair and the finance chief to have a conversation, just to, two things, you know, look somebody in the eye and hopefully when they're doing things right, catch them doing something right so we don't start off a relationship at a point where you've gotten into a non-compliant situation and it's difficult. But also to help work through what is this very slippery slope, because I do think we have a responsibility to make sure the operations are compliant without being the people who step in and actually make it happen the way a regular public school district does. So we're kind of working our way through that. We're going to have 2 of those meetings before I think we meet in January, so we'll probably learn some more from that experience. I know the one situation that we had that Tess and I went ahead with some of the staff and met with the director and the CFO of the school involved, resulted in immediate improvement in the situation. And you can't always presume that folks on governing boards of not-for-profits have real insight into what's going on. Sometimes you have to kind of talk to them and say, look, I know you may not be familiar with this, but it is a requirement. So we're working through that. I just throw that out because I think it really impacts which one of these 4 mission statements we're going to ultimately get close to using. Because I struggle with this support issue. Commissioner Tudor?
Just a couple thoughts very briefly. To your point, practically, I think what we're already doing is supporting these schools. I mean, it's happening. I don't think that word semantically implies a diminution in autonomy. I don't. But practically speaking, you are supporting these schools, right? I think the second thing is, and I do want to cherish and respect independence and autonomy, but I think right now we may be, and I haven't been on the commission very long, but I think we may still be in the honeymoon period, right, where everyone's excited and cheering and we're authorizing these amazing schools, but the day is coming, unfortunately, where maybe some of these schools don't perform at the level that we demand, and that oversight, that support, whatever verb you want to use, we will be doing that. We will be exercising authority, and I wish it weren't so, but I'm just being realistic about it, and I think the mission statement at some level needs to reflect that.
And to your point, Commissioner Tudor, I think what we've got to make sure they understand is we're not holding them to a different standard. We're holding them accountable to what they said they would do. So for that, and again, that goes back to the trusted partnership. It's about accountability. So I agree with you 100%. It's just we've got to make sure that we frame it that we're not doing anything except holding them accountable to what they said they would do.
All right, well, seeing no other comments, what I would ask you to do is take a look at these mission statements, and between now and January, if you have thoughts, please feel free to share them with Drijan. And you can continue to solicit feedback, and we'll try to wrap all of this up in January and learn some from our conversations with the governing boards too. I appreciate the work. This has been incredibly difficult work, and you've done a great job. So thank you so much. Executive Director, please.
I would just say from a formal standpoint, we will send an email and or form to each of you with these options. Would love for you to compile your feedback to send to us so that we can also schedule a call so we can formalize your feedback. And then hopefully, I think in advance of January, we will, again, with our editor-in-chief available, whittle this down to one or two options so that we can have a robust discussion at that time.
Thank you for putting some organizational structure around my highly unstructured suggestion on how we were going to proceed, you know. Yeah, when I see Tess having a feigning over there, it causes me a concern. Okay, with that, we're going to move into our final discussion and adjournment. Are there any other comments or anyone would like to make? I have one, but anybody else? Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you to Tess and the staff for all of the work you did on these appeals. I probably get a little more insight into it because I'm a little closer to the day-to-day on it, but the work of this staff in reviewing the appeals, going through the applications, the capacity interviews, which are sometimes very interesting, sometimes incredibly educational, and then the public hearing process. I think it states beyond measure our commitment to making sure that our process is fair and transparent, and that, you know, every single time we do this, we're going to end up with somebody who's happy on each matter, somebody who's happy, and somebody who's not happy. That being said, there's no reason for anyone who comes with a matter before this commission to not think that they're being treated fairly, and I think we've done a good job on that. And the way we start with that is the work of Tess and the staff, so thank you all very much. I also want to thank all of the commissioners. You put a tremendous amount of time and effort into this, and it shows in the questions and conversations, and thank you so much. Okay. With that, our next meeting is January 24th in Memphis. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you all very much.